this camera a little bit. Game development is really, really hard. Not only making a video game, but making a finished video game. There's so many demos and so many games that are released just way too early before they're baked out. But at the same time, people don't understand how hard it is to bake out a game. So I've been realizing Twitter has a huge programming, coding, artist following. Like Twitter just has so many people on there. I'm gonna call it Twitter forever. And I have been following so many indie devs on there. I came across one that really stuck out to me. It's called Tossdown. It's like a roguelike. There's bombs and things trying to blow you up and you're trying to deliver packages. And the art style, the way things were flying on the screen, I just assumed it was a large development. And then I click on his page and I'm like, huh? It's a solo dev. So I instantly scheduled an interview to just learn what does the mind behind someone who is about to release their own solo project built like. And I think one of the most important things out of this conversation, at least, if you have these grand ideas and these dream-like ideas, they're possible. You can make them happen. You don't have to have all the experience now, but if you start now, find out what you don't know, learn it, and keep leveling it up, who knows what that could turn into. One day, it could be a full, finished video game. So please, buckle in. This is my full conversation with the game developer, Fer, who is making his first commercial project called Tossdown. It's Malik Childish. It's the MC show. Let's go. I've been following a ton of small indie devs on Twitter right now, and I just seen your game. I think it was for like show 15 seconds of your game or something like that on Twitter. And I'm just scrolling. I'm like, yo, this is sweet. Like, this looks like, I don't know, like it looks like a really big dev. And I click on your profile and I'm like, oh, perfect. I'm like, perfect. This is a small indie dev that it seems passionate about his game. So please introduce yourself, say a little bit about your game. And like I said, I have some questions I have to pick your brain on.
Okay. Hi Malik. I'm Fer. Right. I'm a solo indie dev and I've been making games for the past 10 years. Right. I have worked on different kind of games, from small ones to big ones, and I also double as a software engineer. But currently I'm working on a game called Tossdown, which is a game where you run, jump, and dodge obstacles while trying to make deliveries. So it's similar to Crazy Taxi and Jet Set Radio, which are kind of like some retro games that I love to play. Yeah, I've been working on Tossdown for like a year and a couple of months.
Okay.
Right? So currently I just launched my Steam page and I'm rolling a demo out soon. So that's like the progress so far.
Perfect. I mean, so you said a year and some change. What is the point that you get to where you're like, okay, I think it's time to set up the Steam page?
Oh, okay. That's a very good question. So I think it's more about traction, right? So one thing I did when I started the game was I tried to show it. Like I showed it online. I was like, okay, I'm gonna post it. Right. I didn't have like so many followers. I had like maybe 300 at that point. So I decided to just show it. And then it got about 100 likes, which was super high for like someone with just like 300 followers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So from there, I was like, okay, maybe I could continue developing this. And then I continued and people seem to vibe with it. Like that's one thing that was like reassuring. But then I couldn't make a Steam page right away. The common advice, like, oh, get a Steam page right away. But I couldn't do that because I'm from Lagos, Nigeria.
I was literally just gonna ask you. That is crazy.
Yeah. So creating a Steam developer account is a bit dicey over here, right? So you need third-party assistance and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it On average, it takes you like a day to create a Steam developer account. It took me 6 months to get that, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was quite crazy, but um, what I could do while waiting for the Steam page was to like I set up a mailing list, I set up a Discord server, I just kept doing things, and people kept on vibing with the game, giving ideas, and to be fair, it was also a good thing I didn't set up my Steam page early because I got to refine the game
That is true.
very
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So what you're seeing now is a result of so many feedbacks I have gotten over time, right? And that's what makes it like as good as it is right now.
Yeah, which I have some questions about that because I feel like that early feedback, I feel like a lot of people
Mhm.
on the outside, they don't think it's as impactful as the person actually making it because you're taking it like, I didn't even think of that or I didn't even check for that. And people, I don't think people really realize how good that feedback is because not only
Mhm.
do they care enough to even tell you that, but they're actually wanting to see it better than what it is. So
Yeah.
that's exciting. So out of all the, like I said, I seen your stuff on Twitter.
Yeah.
Um, has that been your best platform to showcase this early stage of the game?
Yeah, to be honest, Twitter has been the biggest out of all. So far, I post my game on Blue Sky, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram,
Yep.
and yeah, and YouTube. But Twitter has been like the biggest. That's where I've gotten the highest likes, the best feedbacks, but one thing I try to do is I try to diversify and post the game anywhere. You get different reactions in different places, right? On TikTok, it's more, oh wow, this is cool. On Twitter, it's more, this is cool, but you could also do this, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
yeah. So I tried Reddit also. Reddit was also quite good, but Twitter has been the best place so far, right? That I've been posting.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of like programmers and devs that use Twitter. I'm about to say you're actually in the field. So am I
Yeah.
right by saying that?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. So one thing I've learned over time is if you're looking for the players, Reddit's, TikTok, and YouTube is way better.
Yeah.
But early in development, Twitter is really good because you
Uh,
get that feedback from other developers, and you just kind of build a community where if they repost your game, they're reposting it to players who follow them also. So it helps you build
mm.
that early momentum. So I do like Twitter when you're starting, and then when it starts to get solid, you can start sharing it on TikTok, on YouTube, and all that. Yeah.
Woo! Look, that's already a banger. Look, we've been recording less than 10 minutes, and that's great advice. Cause like I said, I'm coming from someone I am literally 2 years into just learning coding. So like the developing a game and all that stuff, like that is a far goal for me, but I just feel like them small details like you don't know unless you're in the game industry, you're part of a studio, like just the
Yep.
smallest things you just don't get any type of feedback on. So, okay, this is good. This is good. So I have been on Godot. I've been learning Godot as my game programming software.
Yeah.
And the reason why I like that one was because I've just been trying to just level up my skill set slowly and surely, just working on different
Mhm.
projects.
Mhm.
Is your game your dream game, or did it take a few projects to get to this game?
Mm. That's a very good question, right? So, if there's one thing I've learned so far is my dream game was something different from what I'm making now. This is way
Okay.
better than my dream game, to be honest.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Because okay, I first had this idea in 2018, right?
Mm-hmm.
I made a small prototype. I had another idea in 2019. I made another prototype, just like first person. And then I decided to try, okay, a top-down game, right? And when I started it, it was something else. It was meant to be like a mobile game, very simple. And then people kind of let me know that it has a bigger potential. It could be a PC game if I add one or two things to it. And when I added that, it actually was better than what I imagined, right? Now the game is way like beautiful. It's
Yep.
much more beautiful than what I actually wanted to start with.
Yeah.
And it has more depth in terms of the mechanics and so many other things. So it's not really my dream game. It's better than my dream game. I'll be honest with you.
Wow. And like you said, that's mainly because you've been trying a lot of ideas, and then this game was that one where you're like, "Oh, this is working. Let me see what this look like. Oh, this is looking way better than I could have imagined." Okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
So is as a game dev, I mean, obviously the game isn't out yet, but is this the game you're gonna focus on for a long time, or are you kind of in that mode of like, this is just the first good thing I can make? I know I can make this, this, and that.
Okay. Yes, I would say it's the second one, which is I plan to get the game out as soon as possible because I have so many other ideas. One good thing about making a game over time is that you have so many ideas, and if you're not careful, you fall into scope creep, right? Where you
Yeah,
want
yeah,
to
yeah.
keep adding things.
Yep.
And yeah, it's my first commercial game, right? So it's going to be like my first commercial game. So I don't want to spend so much time on it and then the reward to work ratio gets worse the more you work on it, right?
Yep.
So I plan to release the game soon, right? And then move on to the next thing, right?
Okay.
Which I believe is way going to be way better than what I'm doing
Right.
now.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And if you were telling somebody that like who's is just getting into game design and stuff, like, do you recommend that as a now releasing your first commercial game? Do you recommend that in the sense of like you should be thinking of your next project?
Yeah, I think you should be thinking of your next project because that makes you want to finish your current project.
Yeah.
If this was the only thing I was thinking about, I'll probably be budgeting 3, 4, 5 years on it.
Okay.
And to be fair, I'm not ready to dedicate such time. And to be fair, your first game is most likely going to be your worst game.
Yeah.
So I want to get that out of the way as fast as possible. I want to learn about release management. I want to learn about like the business side of things. And to be able to learn that, you need to actually release a game.
Yeah.
So if I release this well and it's bug free and it's good enough, I would have the confidence to work on my next ideas. So always having new ideas, I just tell myself, okay, this is going to be my next project, my
Yeah.
next project, right? And it gets easier with time. If it is your first game, you kind of understand the technicalities better for the second game. Obviously, you still meet new challenges, but it just helps.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, so a lot of my background is art, and
Oh,
I say the same thing to people all the time. Like, I look at my old stuff, like, yo, that like, what was I thinking? But like, I had to make that to get
yeah.
to where, you know what I mean? I was trying to get to, and that's what I always tell people. Like, I love looking back on my old stuff. Like, I'll just literally just sit there, like, oh man, I was a psycho then. Like, so like I think that is I agree with you. I think that is great advice, especially something as technical as a
Mhm.
video game. Like you said, you don't know all the parts until
Yeah.
you go through it. As I've been going through my game dev journey,
Mhm.
I'm starting to realize there's things I love doing and there's things I would pay millions of dollars for someone to do it for me. Do you have those things as getting close to releasing your first game?
Oh yeah, so I worked with my strengths most of the time, and that's more of a programmer than an artist,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
So I always work with my strengths, which is programming. So I try to keep things. I don't. So one of the reasons I didn't make my game like hyper realistic or like AAA graphics is
Hmm.
because I know I can produce such art, right? And it's
Yep.
also going to take a long time for me to learn that and do all that stuff. So I had to lean into my strengths, which is being able to create like good controls, make the game fun, build mechanics, and all those things for the
Yep.
game. So for the art, I don't like art.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
I would pay 1 million to get all the art done,
Yes. Yeah.
right? So I take shortcuts wherever I can take shortcuts, right?
Hmm.
And I believe there's no shame in taking shortcuts because video games are super complex to make.
Yep.
Art is just one part, programming is just one part, marketing is another beast nobody
Yeah.
speaks about,
Yep.
right? I don't like the marketing part either, but I just have to do it. I
Yeah.
don't like the art, but I just have to do it. But
Yeah.
if I could pay money for it, I will.
Okay. And it's funny you touched on the marketing side as well of not liking it. I feel like and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like out of all the things to market, video games is actually one of the hardest things to
Yeah.
market because like at one side you're literally building something like you said, this is what I think should go here, this is what I think should happen when this happens, and then you put it on the market and now you have to find the people that even resonate with what you're even talking about, like,
Yep.
so I guess from your side on the marketing stuff, like where do you even start with that? Like, is it what you were saying earlier? Like, I got traction on Twitter, so I'm probably gonna start thinking of more Twitter content. Like, do you just
Okay.
throw stuff at the wall until it sticks, or is there some sort of idea behind it?
Okay. Okay. So to be honest, right, there are so many mistakes I made along the way that now I know better. But first thing I would say is show your stuff. That's just the awareness stage. So there's a difference between the awareness stage and the marketing stage, right? So far, what I've been doing is awareness. I was building awareness for my games because video games are quite difficult to market because you have to deal with attention. You have to get people's
Yeah,
attention. Like, oh, come see my game. I've worked in software. Like I have like serious. I have worked as a software engineer. I know how apps are like marketed is different. You
yeah,
build the app, then you go find the customers. But with game dev, you find the customers while you're building the
yep,
game,
yep.
right? So awareness is posting on social media, creating content, and all those things. Marketing is finding streamers, trying to join fest, writing out to press. Now, that's the hard stuff
Mm-hmm.
because you would have to send lots of emails. You have to find which streamer resonates with your game. That is really difficult. So I usually tell people start with the awareness to even validate the idea.
Yep.
If you can't get awareness for your game, you're probably going to struggle marketing your game, right?
Yeah.
If people see your post and like, damn, I need to play this, that means your marketing will be way easier.
Yep.
But there are two reactions, and it's either I don't care about your game or take my money, I need to play this right now, right? So you
Yeah.
need to aim for the take my money now kind of vibe when you show your game. Once you've achieved that, your
Mm.
marketing becomes a little bit easier. That is, press will give you attention, streamers will give you attention, right?
Yeah.
And so I would say start with awareness, then move over to marketing when you're ready for that.
Mm. Banger. Banger, because that I was thinking, so on the work side of things I have a marketing background, and that
Okay.
side of it comes very easy to me, and
Mhm.
I think I see other video game programmers that I know don't have a marketing experience. But I
Mhm.
say, like, what you explained is what I've seen most mid-level AAAs do. Like, I feel like what you explained is like that's the minimum. Like, yes, awareness, yes, you got to be in some booths, yes, you got to talk to press. Like, those are all
Yeah.
the minimums, and it's crazy. Like, people think you don't have to do those things. That part of it blows my mind. So I'm glad you're at a good spot with that. That makes me hype about what you're building, what you're trying to do. So I guess on the other side of that, do you picture what you are building or what you're doing right now to turn into a studio, or are you enjoying the solo dev life? Because I feel like it has its strengths and it has its weaknesses on both decisions.
Mhm. I agree. So I do want to be in a studio. Like I said, I've been making games solo for about 10 years now, and I think I've come to the point where I want to be able to manage stuff, right? And focus on the main things, right? I know what my weaknesses are, and I believe having a team would help you cover up for your weaknesses, right?
Yep.
There's the good side. I know there's the bad side where you could have a bloated team
Yep.
and then the projects like gets big in scope. But
Yep.
yeah, I believe I could make better stuff if I have a good team that we both have like the same mindset about building games,
Yep.
right? From this game, I hope it makes enough money that I'm able to start a studio and then I can bring mine and my team's ideas to life, right? I want to kind of be in that director role
Yep.
where I could touch on every single thing, touch on the sound design, touch on the arts, just give my inputs, but then people that are way talented than me would handle those parts.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's yes. Like I think that's a huge benefit to a studio. Um
Yeah.
I guess my other side of it, do you have that confidence to find people that care as much in the project as you do?
Yeah, I think I do.
Okay.
Um, yeah, like I have worked with a fair number of people on different projects and this project,
Yeah.
right? So I think I kind of have that confidence to know like people will truly enjoy the game making process, right?
Yep.
So it's not just about talent, it's also about like how, like, the synergy. I believe it's all about the synergy. You need people who truly care about their craft and maybe the game making process. If I'm able to find, I don't need a big team of 10, 20 people. I just need maybe 5 to 8 people who truly
Yep.
care,
Yep.
right? And then I'll build games around that scope. Like, okay, I know I have 8 people. We are not going to overwork ourselves. We're going to
Yep.
have fun and we're going to build something really good,
Yep.
right? So I do have the confidence due to the different kind of sectors I've worked in. I've also worked in large teams, so I know how processes can evolve. So yeah, I would say I'll give myself a shot at trying.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's perfect. Perfect. I think in my journey so far, I've started to collaborate with other coders and artists and things, and it's funny because I always tell people you kind of weed out. You kind of get better at identifying those people
Mm.
because I've worked with people where I'm like, hey, that was our last time working together. Good good luck on whatever you're about to do because we just don't click. We don't have that same mindset.
Yeah.
So um cool. I was about to say it's definitely something I think you learn over time and I think a studio route is a small studio route. Starting out a small studio route, like the sky is
Yeah.
is literally the limit because like you said,
Yep.
you can hey, you're good at sound engineering and you love what I do as much as I do. Let's see what we can make
Mhm.
happen. So, okay,
Yep.
cool. Was there ever a time you wanted to scrap this project?
Mm. Yes, like absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So, to be fair, like sometimes you just kind of get burnt out. Even if I kind of pride myself in knowing how to manage my time,
Hmm.
sometimes you just get burnt out because scope changes, things change. And in video games, when you have to change things, it's not as simple as maybe you're trying to change something in the software.
Yep.
Right? Video games, there's like a certain direction, and when you have to change a direction, it takes like more time. So there was a time I kind of felt like the game wasn't like a game. It felt more like a technical demo, right?
Okay.
So yeah, being able to go from a technical demo to a video game is like a huge challenge for someone who hasn't made a commercial project. I have games I completed, they were on itch.io and all those other places. But
Yeah.
when you're trying to make a commercial game, you need to actually understand what it entails, right? There's progression systems, there's like difficulty balancing, all those things need to like fit together. The game needs to have a theme and you need to understand the theme. So I was kind of struggling with all that, and how I fixed it was quite simple. I just needed to play more games, right?
Mm.
So I started to play. I mostly don't play AAA games. I play a lot of indie games. So
Me
I
too.
started
Yep.
playing, yeah, I started playing games that were like super unique, and they kind of started giving me the confidence to like kind of work on my game again because I was like, this is something unique, and then I could learn 1 or 2 things. I picked this, I picked that. I'm like, okay, this is how they did this is how they did that. And then I started adding it to my game slowly. And then it started to make sense when I gave people to play test, right? The first play test I ever did was what kind of brought my confidence back, where people were like, oh, wow, this is actually fun,
Yeah.
right? Even if it was not like, oh, it has progression, it has this, it has that, it was just fun.
Yep.
So I
Yep.
felt like,
The main
yeah.
goal, honestly.
Yeah. So from there, the confidence started coming back that, okay, probably I should still work on this. I mean, sometimes you'll still be at your lowest and you're like, is it really worth it? Because you're sinking in a lot of time, a lot of cash, and all these things. But at the end of the day, when you have that and then a little community, like I started building a community around my game, I have a Discord server.
Yep.
That was kind of like, okay, I could actually go ahead to finish this game.
Okay. Nice. Because like I've worked on project. I haven't scrapped a lot of projects. I will say that.
Yeah.
I was
Okay.
gonna say it. I feel like a lot of other creatives and a lot of other people that
Yeah.
think like you, it's hard to
Mm-hmm.
completely scrap a project because I feel like what we talked about earlier is like I just want to get to the end of it so I know what I need to do to level that up. What do you picture? You've released 5 games up till now. You have your studio. It's
Yeah.
50 years from now. You're in your 60s. What are you going to be doing? Are you still going to be in video games?
I'll probably just have a farm. I retire to the farm.
Ooh, okay, okay. So this is just the grind right now. Like you got
Yeah.
okay, okay.
To be fair, yeah. A more like descriptive answer would be yes, I do love video games, but I do love trying new things in life,
Yep.
right? I always see things as a challenge. And I know after some time, I have goals. I have goals bigger than making games,
Yeah.
right? So
Yep.
I'm definitely going to find something that's bigger than life that I'll probably be
Mm.
pursuing. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm going to be doing most of the time.
Okay, okay. I love that. I love that because I'm so glad you brought that up because that's literally how I got into being more intrigued about game development is because I have always been into video editing and photography and then I got into graphic design, then I got into 3D modeling, and it was like that just constant progression of me just
So,
honing my skills. And then
mhm.
I started was like, oh, people actually make this stuff. Like someone
Yeah.
literally put that poster on that wall in that alleyway in this game on purpose. Like I love
Yeah.
that type of stuff. And that was literally how I started moving more into video. I was just trying to get better. I was just trying to just get the reps in, and I started finding out people was just making video games in their free time. I'm like, wait, what? Like, so that's really cool. That's really cool. Can you imagine video games in 2050, 2060?
Yeah. I think I can, right? I see currently, like based on what we see now, I see
Yeah.
a situation where individuals will make a lot of good games compared to where you'd have to wait for a big company to make like your favorite
Yep.
game.
Yep.
Now we have people, I mean, like we look at the Game of the Year awards, we're seeing a lot more indie games showing
Yep.
up. That
Yep.
that kind of shows the trend where um people with crazy ideas who have the tools available can do whatever they want,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it doesn't really have to be like a super large game with 100 hours. It could be a game with just 2 hours that would have a meaningful impact on people's lives,
Yep.
right? So that's where I see games in 2050 where we have um, a two-person studio competing with a studio of 100 people, right?
Dang.
Because they had like the idea and the passion to just go for it.
Yeah.
So I do
Dang.
hope that's the future.
And look, not to be too political or you know what I mean, all of that, but the econ like they say that's where the economy is moving towards is
Yeah.
as a 1 person, 2 person, 3 person job,
Mhm.
you're supposed to be able to compete with the big dogs now. Like that's basically where they saying is moving towards because a $500,000 budget versus a $200,000 budget, that's a huge gap.
Huge. Yeah.
And that's just where it's moving towards. So okay, all right, cool. So I got a couple more questions and then I'm gonna let you go. I know you a busy person. I know you're getting very close to releasing
Yeah.
your game like that. I just feel like I really want to congratulate you on that. Like that, I just feel like it's just a really, really big deal that I don't think a lot of people, like we were just saying, game progression and you know what I mean? All the things in the background that people just
Yeah.
don't know
See.
about or see. Yes. Advice to someone who has never coded in their life, advice to someone who is about to release their first game.
Question with no right or wrong answer.
Exactly.
Yeah, so if you've never made a game, if you've never like typed code before, the first thing I would say is don't be scared, right? It's easy, right? Like I know I've been saying, oh, video game is like it's super hard to make video games and all, but in the hindsight of things, it's super easy to start. It's
Yep.
super easy to dedicate 10 minutes a day. 10 minutes becomes 30 minutes a day. 30 minutes becomes 1 hour. And then you fall in love with the process. You find yourself spending 3 hours, 4 hours.
Yep.
And then you get better at it. It's all about putting in the reps. So if you've never started,
Yep.
just start. And I kind of believe you should be open to anything. It's not all about programming. It's not about making arts. It's just about having a vision and trying to make that vision come to life,
Yeah.
right? And to do that, you might want to start by, okay, take an existing maybe game or system, try to replicate that. Try to understand what made that fun
Yeah.
and just replicate. The more you replicate, the more you can add to your games. Sometimes you feel lost because you have a grand idea in your head. I want to make the next Metal Gear Solid. What if you just make a game with a stealth mechanics first?
Yeah.
Simple game. And then your next game has shooting and stealth. And then your third game has shooting, stealth, and maybe some weirder story in it. And you're good.
Yeah.
Right? That's how I would advise someone to start. And if you're currently in the process of releasing a game, I would say two things. Keep your scope small. Whatever scope you have, you need to cut it in half, right? And cut it in half, that half, cut it in half again. That helps you find the core part of a game. You should be able to describe your game in one line, right? If you can't describe your game in one line, then you have trouble. You would have serious trouble marketing your game or even knowing how to get to the finish line. And once you have that down, play test a lot. Give people to play. If you have someone around you who doesn't play games, give it to them. If you have someone who plays games, give it to them. Go online, share your games. Try to get as many feedback as possible. Like, I never knew a lot of things until people told me, right? So I would always emphasize feedbacks as much as possible. That helps a ton.
Wow. Wow. Once again, thank you so much for your time. This episode has a lot of things that can help people, you know what I mean? It has a lot of advice and it gives a person that they can see do it. You know what I mean? Like you're about to do it. And I think that's important. You don't know who those people are until you pass or cross by them. Thank you once again. Please reintroduce yourself, reintroduce your game, and where can everyone find you at?
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Fer, and I am the solo developer on Tossdown, which is a game where you run, jump, and dash through obstacles to complete every delivery. And it's currently on Steam now, which means you can wishlist it, and I plan to release it by the third quarter of the year. So I would really appreciate the wishlist as it helps the game get more visibility. So I'm also like on Twitter, I'm on Blue Sky by the name the Fer Factor. So if you also have questions, you can drop a DM. I like helping people. You could also join my Discord community. I try to answer questions. I try to give updates on the game. And yeah, that's all about me. Two.